Welcome, listeners, to The Faithful Pulse. I'm Paul, and today we're going to talk about something we all face. Life's unexpected detours, you know, those moments when things don't go as planned, and you find yourself asking, God, what's next? Whether it's a career change, a relationship ending, or an unexpected crisis, life is full of twists and turns. But even in those detours, God has a purpose for us. Today, we'll dive into how we can find God's direction when life doesn't follow our script. All right, let's jump right into the heart of our discussion by talking about God's plan versus our own plans. It's fair to say that each of us has a vision of how our lives should unfold, whether it's a career trajectory, our relationships, or the goals we set for ourselves. We chart our courses, make decisions, and set priorities based on these plans. But what happens when life throws a curveball? When those meticulously crafted plans fall apart? It's not just inconvenient. It can be deeply unsettling. You know, I remember a time in my own life when I thought I had everything figured out. I was on a clear career path, had a steady relationship, and everything seemed to be falling into place. But then, out of nowhere, everything changed. The job I thought was secure was gone, and suddenly I was adrift, wondering what to do next. It felt like the rug had been pulled out from under me, and I couldn't understand why God would allow this to happen. This kind of experience isn't unique to me. We see it time and again in biblical stories as well. Take, for instance, the story of Joseph. Joseph had dreams, literal dreams of his future greatness. Yet he faced betrayal by his brothers, slavery, and even imprisonment. How must he have felt in those moments when his reality seemed worlds apart from his God-given dreams? It must have been bewildering and painful. When our plans are disrupted, it's natural to feel a whirlwind of emotions, confusion, frustration, and even despair. We start to question our purpose and wonder if our efforts were all in vain. The emotional impact of these disruptions can't be understated. It's a heavy load to carry, especially when we're trying to reconcile our faith with our current struggles. But here's where the challenge lies. Understanding that these disruptions, as painful as they may be, are part of a larger divine blueprint. Often, it's only in hindsight that we can see how these deviations from our plans were preparing us for something greater, something aligned with God's ultimate purpose. And that realization is the cornerstone for our next segment, where we'll discuss how to embrace these detours as part of God's masterful plan. Now that we've set the stage with our own plans versus God's plans, let's dive into the importance of reframing those unexpected detours as integral parts of God's bigger picture. It's not easy, but seeing these disruptions as opportunities for growth can make a world of difference. Think about it. If we view every setback as a failure or a derailment of our plans, we'll live in constant frustration. But if we start to see these detours as a part of God's intentional design, our perspective shifts. We find that acceptance mixed with faith becomes our guiding light. Acceptance doesn't mean passivity. It's about recognizing that while our paths have changed, the destination remains the same. God's purpose for our lives. And faith is what keeps us moving forward even when the road ahead is unclear. Just as the Apostle Paul wrote in his letter to the Romans, all things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose. Let me share a story about Sarah, a listener who wrote in about her own unexpected detour. She had planned for years to become a nurse, dedicating herself to her studies and the demanding training. But just as she was about to begin her career, a severe illness struck, making it impossible for her to continue. Understandably, Sarah was devastated, She felt lost, questioning why God would allow this to happen. At her lowest point, Sarah turned to prayer, seeking God's guidance. Through this difficult period, she found new passions and strengths she never knew she had. She started volunteering at her church, where she discovered a gift for counseling others. Eventually, Sarah pursued a new path as a counselor, helping those in similar situations. Looking back, she realized that her illness, though challenging, redirected her to a purpose she hadn't envisioned. Sarah's story illustrates the concept of trust in God and finding peace amid these changes. When we fully trust that God has a purpose for every twist and turn, even the most daunting detours become bearable. It's about releasing our grip on the steering wheel and letting God drive. In these moments of trust, we can find a sense of peace, not the kind of peace that comes from understanding everything perfectly, but the peace that comes from knowing we're cared for by a loving Father whose plans for us are good. So the next time you find yourself on an unexpected path, remember that you're not alone. God is with you, guiding your steps, and together we'll navigate these detours. Let's get practical about how to navigate those unexpected turns in life. It's one thing to understand that God has a purpose for our detours, but how do we practically maneuver through them? Here are a few steps that can be incredibly helpful. First and foremost, prayer is essential. When life throws a curveball, our initial reaction might be to panic or try to fix things on our own. But turning to prayer allows us to pause, reflect, and seek God's guidance. Through prayer, we can find clarity, comfort, and direction. Remember, prayer isn't just about talking to God. It's also about listening and being open to what He has to say. Another practical step is seeking counsel. Sometimes we need a fresh perspective, someone who can offer wisdom and insight that we may not see ourselves. This could be a mentor, a trusted friend, or a pastor. Proverbs tells us that where there is no guidance, people falls, but in an abundance of counselors, there is safety. Don't hesitate to reach out to others when you find yourself at a crossroads. Also, be open to new paths. Often, our plans are disrupted because God is steering us in a different direction, a direction that ultimately aligns more closely with His purpose for us. This requires flexibility and a willingness to embrace change. It's about trusting that God's plans are better than our own. Scripture is full of encouragement for those navigating life as detours. Jeremiah 29:11 is a very popular one. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Let these words be a source of comfort and a reminder that God is in control. Community and support are vital in these moments. Surround yourself with people who uplift you, pray for you, and offer practical support. Being part of a faith community can provide a sense of belonging and encouragement when you're feeling lost. Never underestimate the power of having a strong support system during turbulent times. Lastly, let's talk about self-care and mental health. Detours can be stressful, and it's crucial to take care of yourself, both physically and mentally. This might mean taking time to rest, seek therapy, or engage in activities that bring you joy and relaxation. Remember, it's okay to take a step back and focus on your well-being. Life's unexpected turns can be daunting, but by incorporating these practical steps, you can navigate them with grace and faith. Prayer, counsel, openness to new paths, the encouragement of Scripture, community support, and self-care. These are all tools that can help you find your way when the road ahead is uncertain. Now, as we come to the closing reflections of today's episode, let's take a moment to summarize the key points we've discussed. We've explored the contrast between our plans and God's plans, understanding the emotional turmoil that comes with life's unexpected changes. Yet, we've also embraced the idea that these detours are part of a grander scheme designed by God. We've learned the importance of reframing these moments of disruption as opportunities for growth and deeper faith. By trusting in God's larger purpose, even when our own plans fall apart, we find peace and direction. We've also delved into practical steps to navigate life's twists and turns, like prayer, seeking counsel, staying open to new paths, and ensuring we have community support and self-care. Reflecting on the overarching theme, it's clear that finding purpose in life's detours is about surrendering control and placing our trust in God. This doesn't mean the journey will be easy, but it reassures us that it's meaningful and guided by divine hands. As we trust in God's plan, despite uncertainties, we're embracing a profound faith that carries us through the most challenging times. For a final encouraging thought, let's turn to the words of the prophet Isaiah. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through fire, you shall not be burned, and the flame shall not consume you. These words remind us that no matter where life's detours take us, God is ever present, guiding and protecting us. So, friends, as you face your own unexpected paths, hold on to faith, embrace the journey, and remember that God's purpose is at work in every twist and turn. Thank you for joining me today on The Faithful Pulse. I'm Paul, and I'm grateful to share this time with you. Be sure to check the show notes for any resources mentioned, and feel free to send me a message with your thoughts or topics you'd like to hear discussed in future episodes. Stay strong, stay faithful, and until next time, take care. Thank you all for tuning into The Faithful Pulse. Your presence here means the world to me, and I hope today's episode resonated with you as you navigate the unpredictable turns of life. Remember to check the show notes for any links or resources mentioned that can support you further on this journey. I'd love to hear from you, so don't hesitate to send a message with your thoughts or any topics you'd like us to explore in future episodes. Stay strong, stay faithful, and hold on to the knowledge that God's purpose is ever present, even in the detours. Until next time, I'm Paul. All the best, and God bless.